What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Phillies Sports History for July 10th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. We've officially entered the dog days of summer. This is probably the most boring week of sports on the calendar. I kind of look at this as the end of the sports year. And once the Major League Baseball comes out of All-Star break, you kind of rev up and restart. You have the push for the pennant. The Open Championship is next week. You have NFL training camp starting. NBA free agency really picks up. So good week to just kind of sit back and refresh and rejuvenate and catch our breath and start over fresh. It seems like yesterday after that Phillies game, they started a day early. They lost 7-3, but they were very uninspired. They came out flat and just looked like a team that was already checked out for their All-Star break destinations. Aaron Nola is still an enigma. I mean, some days he looks like Nolan Ryan. Some days he looks like I don't even know who, but he looks like him. Yesterday was one of those days he couldn't keep the ball in the park. He's too inconsistent to get that money that he wants. But I mean, overall, the team they just didn't look like they wanted to play yesterday. But we head into the All-Star break. They're in a good position. Good time to, like I said, recharge the batteries and come out fresh Friday. They did draft a shortstop out of high school. It's one of those things. I mean, it's way too early to tell. Ideally, they said that it was kind of a value pick. So we'll see. I mean, the NBA or the Major League Baseball draft is just, unless you're like Bryce Harper or Ken Griffey Jr., for the most part, it's a crapshoot. So we'll see in a couple years how this guy turns out. Sixers did match the Jazz's offer for B-Ball Paul. 3-year, $23 million. The last 2 years are guaranteed if the Sixers make it out of the first round of the playoffs. Thank you very much for that, Danny Ainge, you son of a bitch. Still trolling and hurting the Sixers after all these years from Utah now. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Like he just gave an FU to one last FU to Sixers fans and whatever. I don't hate this move. I would have liked it better if they didn't re-sign Harrell, but it is what it is. I still don't know what to make of this offseason. And speaking of that, today's As the Harden Turns update, Joe finally spoke out. I think it was Rachel Nichols he talked to, and he said, obviously, I want Harden back. And then in the feel-good moment of the summer, and this is what happens when it's the dog days, he said, I'm just glad I'm his friend. So obviously he wants him to come back, he said, to win a championship, but he's just grateful to be his friend. There you go. I told you, this is better than any reality show you're going to see, especially this week since there is nothing going on. But Harden and Joe are friends, and Joe likes being friends with Harden. Anyway, Flyers news. They signed goalie Alexei Kolosov. He was their draft pick in 2021. He's a goalie. He's playing over in the KHL. Really coming into his own. They're going to loan him to the KHL for next year, and then he's going to come over for the 24-25 season. Signing him now gives them flexibility, I think, with Carter Hart, because Kolosov has a lot of upside from what I've read. And he has like a potential to be a number one goalie in the NHL. And for a team that's rebuilding, if you could get something for a young goalie like Carter Hart, you got to do it. Get some draft capital, and do what you can. So we shall see what happens with that. But overall, it seemed like the critics and everybody thought it was a very good signing for them. All right, today we're going to go all the way back to 1911 for a Philly story, which is kind of one of those stories that you only find in 1911. The Phillies beat the Cardinals on this day 4-2. Left fielder for the Phillies, Sherry Magee, who was one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball at the time, was ejected by umpire Bill Finneran for arguing balls and strikes. Not that out of the ordinary than what we see today all the time. Well, he did then. Sherry Magee did pretty much what every Major League Baseball player, every fan, every umpire has dreamed of when arguing with the umpire. He knocked Finneran out. Straight up went over, punched him, knocked him out. Allegedly, Sherry Magee may or may not have been drunk at the time during the game. That's, again, it's 1911. Times are different. But he was immediately suspended for the year. After he appealed, he ended up only getting 36 games for knocking out an umpire, living out the dream of every fan, every batter, catcher, pitcher, manager, whoever, living out that dream of knocking out the umpire. As a Philly, though, Magee, whether or not he played half his games drunk or not, who knows? He played 11 seasons with the Phillies. He had a .299 average with them, won the batting title in 1910. He led the league in RBIs 3 times. He is in the Phillies Wall of Fame despite knocking out an umpire. But more importantly, what a great story. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, this is something you only hear of that happened way back in 1911. You got people going into the stands, fighting people. But on this day, back in 1911, left fielder for the Phillies, Sherry Magee, was ejected from the game and then subsequently suspended for the season, which was reduced to 36, for knocking out the umpire. Gotta love it. Another thing you gotta love is phillygoat.com. It is the dog days of summer. There's not much going on. It's a great time to go to their website and check it out. If you're not watching the Phillies game, it's something you could do a little online shopping while you're watching the Home Run Derby tonight. But check them out. Tons of gear to get you ready for the Eagles season, Sixers free agency, the second half of the Phillies. They got kid sizes, Philly neighborhood, Philly centric, whatever you can think of, Philly Pride. Go check them out. They're good quality shirts. They're comfortable. And use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. You won't get knocked out by Sherry Magee by ordering them. But go check them out. Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. That's phillygoat.com. Make sure it has the authentic goat on the sleeve. All right, time for the Philly Sports Lovable Loser Tournament. And much as I anticipated yesterday in the Eagles Regional, the 2002, the 5 seed Eagles dominated the 1947, the 4 seed. 100% of the vote went to 2002. I think a lot of that stemmed from the 47 team being from 1947. But also, I think there's a lot of people out there, especially folks my age and people I have tickets with and just fans around my age, that 2002 team was like the epitome of disappointment for the Andy Reid era. So 2002 team moves on. They will take on the 1988 team. No, they will not take on the 1988 team. Forget I said that. The brackets are updated on my social media, but the 2002 Eagles move on. Today we're moving to the Flyers Regional, and another intriguing matchup that I'm anxious to see how this one goes. We have the number 3 seed 96-97 Flyers taking on the number 6 seed, the 2009-2010 Flyers. Both of these teams were Cup finalists. It was a deep regional. So the 96-97 team went 45, 24, and 13. Took second place in the Atlantic Division. They battled the Devils all throughout that season. The Devils overtaking them at the end. Good enough for the 3rd seed. It was the first year at the newly opened Coors State Center. They got off to a slow start as Eric Lindros was dealing with an injury. Once his rehab was over and he came back, they caught fire. Like as soon as he came back, they went 14-0-3. That was the famed Legion of Doom line with him, Mikael Renberg, John LeClaire, Eric Desjardins was also on that team. Due to Lindros coming in late, Lindros was the leading goal scorer as well as the assist leader. They were a great team, but was this the high point of Eric Lindros' time in Philly? They rolled through the Eastern Conference. They beat the Pens 4-1. Beat the Sabres 4-1, beat the Rangers 4-1, and then got swept out by the Red Wings. They couldn't stop the Red Wings or score. Like, more importantly, they couldn't score. They averaged a goal and a half per game in that final. But the 96-97 team, our 3 seed, taking on our 6 seed, the 2009-2010 team. Now, that 2009-10 team, they went 41-35-6. They were 3rd in their division, good enough for the 7th seed. They had very, very low expectations coming into that season. It was more of a transition year. They were kind of figuring out what they had. They had a new coach, Peter Laviolette, coming in. They were splitting The goals were goalie time was split between Brian Boucher and Michael Layton. Mike Richards was on that team. Jeff Carter, Danny Briere, a young Claude Giroux, Simone Gagne, Chris Pronger. Once they got into the playoffs, though, things changed. They knocked off the Devils 4-1 in a huge upset. Then there was that memorable Bruins series where they got down 3-0, came back, tied it up, got down early in the first period, 3-0 in Game 7, only to come back and win. Then the Canadians were the 8th seed. They got very lucky with the way the draw fell out. They beat the Canadians 4-1 to go to the Cup. And then they actually didn't play that bad against the Blackhawks in the finals, lost 4-2. They were definitely the unlikeliest Stanley Cup team, probably in Flyers history. I don't know of all time, but hands down the unlikeliest Stanley Cup team in Flyers history. So, as I always do, I played this out on What If Sports. Surprisingly, the 09-010 team won 70% of the time. And like I did the best of 10 games, each team got 5 at home. The 09-10 team won all 5 of their home games, and they were the Cardiac Kids, very much like they were in real life. They won most of those games. They won of the 7. 5 of them were won in either third period or overtime. So good. Showed a lot of heart, and they knocked off that 96-97 team, who I think were good, but thought they were better than what they were, maybe, or I don't know. But now it's up to you. Be sure, if you're listening on Spotify, there is the voting option right through the app. Hit me up on the social media. Twitter, Jimbo_Mont. Same for TikTok. Instagram at Philly Jimbo. If you follow me on Facebook, vote there. Shoot me a text message. Give me a call. Email. Like I said, don't send the carrier pigeon because you won't make it here in time unless you put little jetpacks on his wings and get him over here. But let me know, the 3rd seed 96-97 Flyers or the 6th seed 2009-2010 Flyers, both Stanley Cup finalists, both disappointing in their own right. But who is Philly's most lovable loser out of the Flyers bracket? Not much going on, though, the rest of the week. Be on the lookout for the new Back to the Future. Like I said, it's a good time to go back and check out some of the previous episodes. If you want to know more about the tournament, check out that episode. But we did Sixers free agency. This week we're doing the 2008 Phillies, so stay tuned for that. As always, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get the podcast, whether you're watching it or listening to it. Thank you so much for coming in with hanging out with me in the dog days of summer. It's gonna be a long week, but we will get through it. And the Phillies are back in action on Friday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Don't forget to vote for your lovable loser in the Flyers regional today. And enjoy your Monday. And until next time, I will see you when I see you.